call the Village of North Fond du Lac Village of Trustees meeting to order Monday, October 1st, 2018. Audience members are requested to sign in on the sheet provided on the registration table. Citizens wishing to be heard on topics not listed on the agenda may speak. Thank you. Speak under item C. Citizens may be given an opportunity to speak during discussion of items listed on the agenda and are allowed 3 minutes for comments. Disruptive discussion or profanity will not be allowed. Roll call of officers.
King is excused. Price?
Here.
Streeter?
Here.
Stutz?
Here.
Will?
Stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Citizens' participation. Citizens are to address the board only. Statements are limited to 3 minutes. The board may not respond to items not listed on the agenda. However, you may ask for an item to be placed on future agendas. Anybody for citizens to be heard? All right, seeing none. Moving on. Announcements, communications. Seeing none. Public hearing. We'll now adjourn to the public hearing. Public hearing on report and final resolution for special assessments for installation of sidewalks, driveway approaches, curb and gutter, asphalt pavement, and landscaping on Indiana Avenue in the village of North Fond du Lac.
Need a motion. Second to adjourn.
Can we get a motion to adjourn to the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
I get a second? I got a motion by Stutz, second by Will to adjourn to the public hearing. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Is there anybody that wants to speak on the public hearing for the special assessments? Second time anybody wants to speak on the public hearing for the special assessments? And third time, is there anybody that wants to speak on the public hearing for special assessments? All right, I need a motion to adjourn from the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to adjourn from the public hearing.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion by Price, second by Stutz to adjourn from the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. President's business and staff reports. Number 1, employee recognition. Brian Abbott's. Would you come up to the podium, please? It says Certificate of Appreciation awarded to Brian Abbott's with sincere appreciation for 20 years of service to the village of North Fond du Lac, awarded this 28th of September 2018. Congratulations.
Thank you.
There you go. That sounded cool. All right, staff reports, library, Heather?
Thank you. We're in full swing with story time. The last week we had, on both Thursday night and Friday, we had 14 children plus their families. And September was library card sign-up month. We did, in 24 days, we opened 34 new cards, so that's a pretty good number for that. And I'll be starting to work on my next library board meeting paperwork, which will take place next Wednesday, October 10th. And we also invite anyone to join us for our book club, our on-track readers. We're reading Frankenstein, the classic by Mary Shelley. And that's on October 20th at 9 a.m. So that's all I have.
Heather, when is your next board
Yeah.
meeting?
October 10th, Wednesday,
At 6
October
p.m.?
10th. What was that?
At 6 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All righty, administrator.
Thank you. Broken record, I guess, again, working on the budget. Almost through the budget. We're getting to the summary section. We'll briefly touch on that tonight. Hopefully, next meeting then, October 15th, we will be reviewing most of the budget, if not all of the budget. There's still a few little pieces of it that we need to put together for the TIF and outdoor rec, but pretty much the rest of it is done. We'd like to go through it one more time, review everything, look back at the capital. There's been a few changes in some of the budgets, so that would be the next meeting, hopefully, and then by November 5th, hopefully we'll have everything taken care of that we can do the public hearing either that night or November 19th. I attended a ribbon cutting ceremony last week for the new They're sharing an office now, the Envision Greater Fond du Lac and Destination Lake Winnebago region. They are sharing an office on Main Street, and they had a kind of a grand opening ribbon cutting ceremony last week, which was very well attended. The village administrator is part of the board for the Destination Lake Winnebago region. So I was there for that. Also continue to work on, as I mentioned in the past weeks, possible new business that's looking at the business park. Keep working on that and moving through those steps. That's all I have.
Thank you. Police Department, Darren.
Thank you. Last week, Thursday, I attended and participated in retailer training for alcohol beverage retailers. It's training that we offer every single year. It's part of our compliance check program. Basically, we invite the retailers in and we give them everything they need to be successful in passing those compliance checks, helping to identify underage drinkers and reduce serving underage drinkers. Unfortunately, we did not have anybody from North Fond du Lac participate in the training. None of our retailers attended, which has unfortunately been kind of a common theme the last several years. But we'll continue to move forward with the compliance checks, and hopefully we have a good year that way. As far as our hiring situation goes, last week we had written tests for the vacant patrol officer position. We have now invited 6 people to participate in an interview panel, which will be held on October 16th. And as far as the sergeant's position goes, we received 3 applications for that. All 3 of those individuals have been invited to attend a written test at the end of this month. That one's a little bit different. We have to give them a little bit longer time frame because there are study materials that they're provided with, and you have to give them an opportunity to study for that test. So, but we're moving forward in both of those. And lastly, this week is homecoming week. Friday is the parade at 4 p.m. The route is similar to years past, the exception being that it's going to stop at Friendship Learning Center, will not make its way back to the high school. We will have the entire route shut down to all traffic during that time, so motorists should plan ahead and try to find alternate routes. And the map with the parade route on it, as well as the time, is on both our Facebook page and our website.
Thank you, Darren. Fire EMS, Jake.
Thanks. Just want to remind everyone we have our open house October 13th, which is second Saturday of the month. Flight for Life will be here, hopefully weather dependent and call dependent. We'll have some demonstrations going on. We'll be doing stop the bleed training, and also some layperson CPR training. I've been working on the Waupun contract for 502, and that's been going well. We got it back from Waupun and sent it off to our lawyer to look over and review, and should be hearing back from him this week at some point. I've been continuing to work on the budgets with Nick quite a bit, and then the MTM contract that I've talked about multiple times now. I got an email from him after I requested to know where we were at in the process, and he sent me the same list that I got 3 or 4 times now. So I forwarded him all the information that he needed, and hopefully that will get submitted to the state, and we will be good with that. So that's all I have.
502 still holding up okay?
Yeah.
Good. Good. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything on the polls? Lori here for the poll?
Lori's here for, yep.
Lori, poll?
And I handed out, everyone should have a small little spreadsheet for that.
I don't think we did a review last year, so I thought it would just be good to go through this year. So I did a 3-year comparison study, kind of on admission prices, what we've done in lessons, and what we've done in concessions. You have to remember with the pool, everything in life where the pool is concerned is weather pending. But I am very happy to say that this year we did phenomenally, and it was a short summer for us. With school going back on August 20th, we cut our hours to just evening during the week, and then we were still open on the weekends through. We closed the day before Labor Day. That Sunday we did a dog swim at the pool, which this year went great. Year before it was cold and miserable, but this year we probably had about 12 dogs or so. What we did that day is I have a form they have to fill out, a liability form. They have to have proof of rabies with them, and then we require a $5 donation to the Humane Society. So we donated about $85 to the Humane Society for that. We did about a 2-hour dog swim. They kind of had free reign of the pool. We had water, and we had some balls for them to play with and stuff like that. So it went pretty good. It was not the perfect weather, but it was definitely better than it was the year before. As you can see, swimming lessons was up quite a bit this past summer, and unfortunately that's thanks to the fact there wasn't really much for summer school out here this year with the construction. So I think that made our lessons quite a bit higher this year than it normally will be. The only thing I have to say about next summer is with school getting out a little bit early, weather pending, my goal is to actually open the day after Memorial Day. Normally it would be a week later than that, but if we can open the Tuesday after Memorial Day, that would be swimming lessons registration that week anyways. I would like to open the pool if we can. The kids are out of school the Friday before. So if we can make it work, that's kind of my goal, to get open a little bit earlier this year. Then we'd have a little longer summer. If that works out, I'm kind of considering maybe doing a 4th session of swimming lessons if I can fit it into the schedule. Normally we have 2 weeks on, a week off, 2 weeks on, a week off. Because our summer is going to be a little longer, we might be able to stretch out and do another thing of swimming lessons, which I think would be great. And then the only other thing is, if you look at 2017, you can see that admission prices were a little bit lower, but we do offer 25% discount on family season passes if they get free or reduced lunch through the school district. They have to actually supply a letter from the school district saying they get that, and then their season passes are reduced. So that's why I did put a note there. We did a lot of those in 2017. We did not in 2018. So that's kind of the price differential there. So otherwise, I think everything's going great. Health department comes every summer, and we learned something new this year. We weren't docked for anything, but they did put in a new rule that next summer we have to have an outdoor landline phone in the pool area. So it's going to have to go outside on the back of the bathhouse, but inside the gate. And it has to be earmarked for 911 calls only. There must have been an incident at one of the Fond du Lac pools this year where they had a hard time finding the cell phone or the cordless phone, which delayed response, they think, for an emergency. So Darren Parsons has looked into it. We're looking at getting just it would be an outgoing phone only. It wouldn't ring inside the pool. We'd still keep our normal phone number on our normal phone. This would just be like you see in the olden days where there's a big red phone on the wall. That's what that would be. And it would be for outgoing 911 emergencies only. So that is something new that they introduced to us this year. So we will be doing that before we open next summer. So otherwise, everything else went well. Any questions?
Mike?
So, appreciate that. Looks like we're going in the right direction. And, the concessions, I mean, is that just what we brought in and profit? Is it just what we sold?
That is what we sold, correct. I'm gonna bet we're about a 50-50 once we buy stuff. The one thing that I did do at the end of last summer and I did do this summer, which I think has helped tremendously, is we got a Sam's Club membership. So when I purchase for concessions, I make a Sam's Club trip probably about once a month. I think that has financially helped us out a lot versus buying the little packs of stuff at Walmart. And I think that definitely has made a difference. But I'm betting if we took this concession amount here, we probably spent about $3,500 on supplies for the concession stand. So we still made a profit on it, but we definitely didn't make $7,000.
And when's the last time we had a rate increase? And are we looking for one for 2000?
We did, and 16 was new. So as far as rate increase for passes, I don't feel that would be necessary. For swimming lessons, we increased everything across the board in 2016 by $5. Season passes went up $5. Swimming lessons went up $5 at that point in time. I personally don't think our services have changed to warrant a rate increase for swimming lessons at this point in time. I like the fact, and you can compare, we are cheaper than quite a few people where lessons are concerned, and we also offer a smaller ratio from guard or teacher to student, but that's why we do so good. And I'd hate to ruin that. I mean, I had so many people over the years say, you know what, I live across the street from Taylor Pool and we come here. You know, and I don't want to lose that. That to me is a small town value, and we're never going to make money.
I just don't want to return back to 2010 where
Correct.
we had that
big.
And I agree with you. And you need to remember, like for swimming lessons, the school district pays for our guards. We don't pay for our guards during swimming lessons times. Yep. And then the other thing that we did do this year too is the last 2 weeks of summer when school was in session, middle school and the freshmen actually had gym class at our pool. So we had 2 guards that worked Monday through Friday during the day, and they brought the gym classes over during that time. That too, the school district paid for that time there, so.
I hope over the winter we look at it, just look at it.
Sure.
If everybody else is that's fine, then.
Sure. Nope.
Let's look at it. So.
Nope, I understand. Anybody else?
You got something?
My question was answered,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions for Lori? Thank you, Lori, appreciate
Yep,
that.
thanks.
All right, moving down to consent agenda. Approve the minutes of the following village board meeting from 9/17/2018, and approve the invoices and authorized check to be drawn on the respective accounts, or respective funds. General fund, $37,970.29. Library fund, $2,133.49. EMS fund, $4,886.09. Water department, $24,577.06. Wastewater department, $3,569.16. Stormwater fund, $106.34 for a grand total of $73,242.43. What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Can I get a second?
I second that motion.
Got a motion by Will, second by Price to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Seeing none? Oh, you have something,
I
Ann?
just was wondering what that trick-or-treating thing was for.
Good, Jake.
Aver Alert, All Corporation. Jake Fitzhugh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we always take something along with us to hand out during trick or treating. So I believe Lori ordered sunglasses this year with our name on it. So
Okay.
that's pretty typical. We have funds available for like fire prevention PR events that we always budget for. So
I was just wondering if I should hit the fire station.
no. We'll be walking around. We'll have plenty of people out.
They were 90 cents cheese.
Anything else, Ann?
No, that's all I had.
Anybody else? All right, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none.
Mike, the only thing, I don't know if the folks in the back want to stay for the are you staying for the whole meeting or are you just for the resolution?
No, the whole meeting.
Okay, I was gonna say we could bump it up if not, but they're the only ones here for that, so,
All right.
carry on.
Administrative, discussion and possible action on 2019 Fond du Lac County tax collection agreement.
I included that in your packets. You'll see the changes are in red. The only significant change, it's really not significant, is it's going, so that the county of Fond du Lac collects all the tax bills for us. We don't collect any here, which is, as you can ask Chris, when we used to collect them, it's a lot of work off our plate. It's much nicer this way. They charge us to do that. They were at $2.05 per parcel. We have around 2,200 parcels, give or take. They're increasing that this year by 5 cents, so $2.10 per parcel. And then the only other change was there was some immunity language added in there. One of the attorneys from one of the communities wanted this language added in, and they're just stating that we have governmental immunity. Those are the only 2 changes, and we believe that this is a good contract.
Anybody have any questions regarding this? Alrighty, I get a motion to either approve or deny the tax collection agreement.
I make a motion to approve the tax collection agreement.
I'll second that. Got a motion by Price, second by Streeter, to approve the 2019 Fond du Lac County tax collection agreement. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Number 2, discussion on the conservation and development, culture and rec, and review summary of 2019 budgets.
All right, depending on where you put those, they're in, should be in tab 4. And starting with conservation and development. Should have the, actually culture and rec is first. The first I gave you would have been community center and swimming pool. So we can start with those. Not a lot here. I mean, the community center is a very, very minimal budget. we used to have obviously a full-time or part-time community center director, so this budget was much larger at one point, but there's just a few things in there for IT, sales tax. There was postage being charged there. It just was something that probably had been carried out throughout the years because we used to mail out the villagers. We don't do that anymore, so that's removed.
I guess I want to
Go ahead,
speak
Mike.
towards this if I could, the swimming pool one. That's why I talked about the rate increase. I'm a little concerned
Sure.
about, you know, it's creeping up there, what it's costing to run that pool. I mean, we budgeted 51,500 and, currently it's 66,000. That's about a 15,000
Yeah, but
overrun.
if you look at the estimated actual, it's 57. The
Right.
reason it's 66 is that we get reimbursed for the school, from the school. That's not shown in the, right, we haven't been reimbursed yet. That's why it's currently at 66.
Okay.
Once we get reimbursed, we'll be at the
57 is both.
I'm sorry, yeah, I was just gonna say that. We shouldn't be looking at that line. We should be looking at not the bold line includes the community center up above. So look at the swimming pool total is 50,273
You're right,
is
I'm
what we
sorry.
budgeted.
I did roll them. didn't
Yep,
I?
and then so the 53,477 is what we spent. There was a little bit more in wages spent this year. It's kind of dependent on a number of things. You can only estimate how often they're open.
Right.
But you gotta, I mean, keep in mind too, this is only part of that swimming pool budget. There's another 40,
I get it. I just want to make sure that we don't go
Yep.
down the same road we were in the past.
Yep.
Because we end up being, you know, such a big deficit and so.
Any other questions?
I have a question. I guess
Yeah.
you're talking about the past one was a big difference. I guess what did you guys do to, I guess, close the gap?
well, I don't know that we actually closed the gap much. I think at the time, the discussion went in that the concentration was going to be on increasing the experience there, and increasing the facilities to hopefully increase the usership, and we've definitely done that. But along with that, costs increase. I mean, we use more water, things like that, but I don't remember. I'd have to go back quite a few years, and I don't know if Chuck remembers off the top of his head, but
We should have a director over that too, you know, the director over the community center and the pool and all that.
Yep, and we still kind of have that, but much less, yeah. And I'm sure if you looked at the inflations and that, I just, the $60,000 kind of rings in my mind from way back then that we were losing, so to speak, on the pool. And we're still near that, but if you take into consideration of inflation and cost increase, we're doing better.
So then we'll go for that, you know.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
So, like I said, there's just not a lot here to discuss. If anybody has any specific questions, otherwise we can move on. So, we move forward a few pages to conservation development. That's where you're gonna see inspections, planning and zoning. Again, here, there's, besides wages, the inspections portion, there's really not a lot. This is for Pete Fetters, our building inspector mainly. And small tools and equipment, he's got very little in those budgets to work with. There's also, he does have some training every year he has to attend to keep up on his continuing education. There's a slight increase there, and it's basically wages. Moving on to planning and zoning.
You know, I just want
Oh,
to,
sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Continue on. That's
Moving on to
all.
planning and zoning, I just hit the highlights here.
Yep.
That, really, the major thing you're seeing there is I put $12,000 in planning and zoning for an update on our comprehensive plan, which was done in 2000, and it's basically a 20-year plan, so 2020, we should probably should have updated it by now. I know we did discuss this last year at budget time, but it was extremely expensive. I've been talking with East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission, and they are offering these services now at a very reduced rate or free. Now, this is not a free item, so I'm budgeting that right now. I don't know where that number is going to end up, but I believe it will probably be a little bit less.
Okay. I guess no question I have, the per diem for the commission boards, is it 20? You have
Yep.
10 in here, right?
I have 10 in there,
Yeah.
and I knew that was gonna be a point. I have it in my notes to discuss.
Yep.
I know you had talked earlier this year about that, and you
Yep.
said you wanted to wait till budget time.
Yep.
I have it highlighted in my budgets to talk about, so now would be a good time to have that discussion.
Okay, I mean, right now it's $10 for somebody to show up for planning commission. It's also for the CDA, which we haven't done, the zoning board of appeals. Police and fire, is it the same thing with police and fire, $10 for them too, or is it? I propose raising it to 20 for people's time and gas to come down here, you know?
So they're a volunteer, and
Yep.
they come, so their compensation is $10
Per meeting. That's what it's, and it's been that way as long as we can remember.
Okay.
And we had this discussion earlier this year that we suggested that it should probably be increased.
Yep. but-
And we wanted to wait till budget time. Yep.
And what line is that coming on?
So that if you look on the detail, it's under commission board.
So it would be like
That would basically,
$650.
yeah, which one are you looking at? There's the increase?
Yeah.
Correct. Yep. Yep. The reason I'm looking is I feel like I already had done it on one of them.
We talked about it.
I know, and I
Maybe
thought I
we'll-
did it
we'll-
when I was working in the budget last
Was
week,
it
so that's
police
why I'm
and- was
looking.
it
But
part of
I'll,
the police budget
if
or
the board's in
something?
agreement with that, I'll just increase them all. It'll be more than that, because that's just one of them. It'll maybe be at total, at the most, a couple $1,000,
I would be surprised if it was that much.
and it probably would not be that much.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. So we'll increase that to 20. You know, okay, we'll do that during the budget discussion. I'll actually probably, maybe in the next meeting, I'll make a note to put that in, and we'll actually get a motion and increase that then.
You want a motion right now?
No, that was not on the agenda.
Did you have anything else, Mike?
That's it, thank you.
So is there any other questions on that, planning and zoning? If not, we can move to the summary. And this is just, oh,
Economic development.
sorry, did I skip it? Yep, go ahead. I missed that one.
Yep, I don't know, just the engineering.
Yeah, so that's in relation to what I'm working on with the business park, that I expect there's gonna be some expenses there. Yep. Sorry, I missed that. I didn't flip the page.
Where's the FCD, I mean, no, it's 13, like 15,000. Then we got it at 750, 7,500.
Portion of it?
Dues and, top.
Oh, you're talking about Envision Fond du Lac?
Yes.
It's in there. It's in, it should be in this budget.
Still listed FCEC.
It's in the.
Oh, yeah, dues and subscriptions, it's $7,500.
He's
Yeah.
asking where the other 50% is charged.
Goes in the TIF, in the TIF budget.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
I was wondering where it is, and I guess it's there, that's where that, it's split between two.
Okay.
But it's not really identified well.
Subscription.
Subscriptions. Should be in the detail. FCDC 50% of $15,000, and it shows the other part of it's charged at 801.
You're gonna change it to whatever it is now, what is it? Oh, instead of FCEC.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
We have to envision.
So, we know what we're talking about down the road. Any other questions on that portion?
If not, we'll move on to the summary, which I think I told you to put in section 1. Is that right? This is, there's a lot of information here, and a lot of it you haven't necessarily, I shouldn't say a lot of it. There's some of it you haven't seen yet, and that's okay at this point. I just wanted to kind of run through where we're at. So this is basically the final summary of everything we've been working on, and just looking at all the numbers and how they fill in and where we're at. So if you start with the revenue section up top, I mean, you'll notice that things are pretty similar. We're a little bit lower on the total revenue. 3.45 was the budget last year. But remember, there's $103,000 of fund balance in that number. That we were use of fund balance. We're showing zero use of fund balance as of this time right now. So if you take the 103 out of there, you're back at 3.35 million. Very close to where we are. We're actually up slightly for our revenues next year. Does that make sense, everyone? Following me?
That means we were gonna use $100,000.
Correct, so basically at the end of the year, and we'll have that in this budgets too. When we get to the end of this budget, there'll be a portion we're just going to budget using some of our fund balance to balance the budget. Okay. So, but taking that back out of there is really truly what our revenues are. We're gonna be up a little bit, from last year. This year, you'll notice is much higher than what it was expected to be. We're at 354, and remember, you have to compare that to the 3.3 because we have to take the fund balance out. So we're $200,000 plus, or right around $200,000 plus, and a large portion of that is due to the school addition, and there was a lot of building permit fees associated with that. And then moving down, you'll just see that those are these other revenues are for the what we call non-GO, or the enterprise type funds, or the EMS, debt service, capital, and then the library. So collectively, you'll see the total budget is revenue, I should say, is just over $6 million if you add all that stuff back in, including our debt service. And then you roll into the summary of all the expenses that we've been talking about. They're all totalized on here. And at the end of the day, if you look, the total revenue over expense for the 100 account we're about $35,000 short on the revenue side, which I'm pretty comfortable with, to be quite honest. There's a couple of things that come to mind right away. One of those being the police department. As we talked, we discussed that's staffed fully starting as January 1. We know that that's not going to be the case. In years past, we've also shown that we seem to save a few dollars over the years. We have a very healthy fund balance. I wouldn't have any problem budgeting $35,000 of fund balance to cover that. But we still need to go through everything else one more time and just make sure we're comfortable with everything in the budget. And also what I'll mention right now is what I've done is taken our property tax levy amount, which is $1.497 million. We've increased that by 2%. Now that does not equal a 2% tax rate increase. It's actually closer to like 1.8, which equates to about 16 cents per thousand. So for a homeowner with a $100,000 home, they're looking at about a $16 increase on their tax bill. So that's what we have built into this budget at this point, is a 2% increase in the tax levy. And that would go from $8.87 to approximately $9.03 per thousand on the tax bill.
I'm just gonna.
Go ahead, Mike.
I mean, I guess I just see the EMS, they're 100,050 short.
No,
Am I reading that right?
no. The EMS is about 24,000 short.
Make sure
I'm not sure what you're
that
looking
right. I'm
at.
looking at, I gotta add those two together, I'm sorry. I gotta add that
Sure,
to 25.
yep, no, yeah, so I can tell you, so
25,000.
the easiest thing to look at, Mike, is the last page here where it says negative 35,000. Then the other number below it is negative 60,000.
Yeah.
The difference between those two is the EMS shortfall. It's like
I see it now. I needed
$24,689.
to add that 125 in there, so
Yep.
it's about 25,000 shortfall.
24,689, correct, yep. And we'll discuss that in detail next week, how that number changed and why it changed. But this is where we're at. I'm feel pretty comfortable about where we're at. I think just from being involved in this process for a number of years now, we've had a lot of years where we end up at $300,000 or $350,000 at this time and looking to cut. And this $35,000, we usually definitely use some fund balance to balance that budget. Now, you'll see that number change as we start using that contingency fund with the expenditure restraint. That contingency fund will be increased to maximize the expenditure restraint. So we get that $46,000 and also help ourselves out for next year. We can have more discussion about that next week if we want. But I feel like we're in a pretty good spot right now with this budget.
Anybody have any questions? there's anything else, anybody? Anybody, last time? All right.
Like I said, so the next meeting we'll have, basically we'll just kind of be walking through everything one more time. Anybody have any questions about specifics? We'll go back on the capital. There's been a few minor changes to that, some of it in the police department, some of it in public works, very minor stuff. We've already been Chris and I have been in conversations with Ellers, our financial advisor, about the borrowing and how we may want to do that borrowing. We may not do it all as a GO borrow. We may look at the state trust fund, as it called, the state trust fund loans for the fire engine possibly. This might be a better way to go with that borrow. But those things really don't need to be ironed out with the budget. We know where we're gonna be at. We've looked at our financial forecast for debt service. It would be nice to have that public hearing on November 5th if possible. So we'll see how next meeting goes, but we do have to notice that 15 days prior. So I'll have to do it, likely probably have to do it before I have to look at the calendar, I guess, to figure that out. But we have to notice that 15 days prior to the public hearing, so.
All right.
If you have any, sorry, one more
Go
thing.
ahead.
If any board members have any specific questions for that next overall budget, please let me know ahead of time so I can kind of get some details put together.
All right, any other questions? We'll move on down to item 3, discussion of personnel policy, chapters 32 through 37.
These are just, not a lot here, not a lot changes here, so shouldn't take too long, actually.
All right, starting chapter 32, sexual harassment. Anybody have any questions or anything, there aren't any changes? Anybody on chapter 32?
I'm just gonna put some.
Go ahead, Mike.
I just, we'll revert back to what the state does, and I'm not saying we have to adopt what they do, but, like another item is like, department, skating in a department head has to report. Anything that's brought to their attention, they have to report it. So, because a lot of times some employees will come and talk to you off the record, I don't wanna say nothing, but if you stated in your policy, anything that's brought to the department head has to be reported. I mean, I don't know, so that if that employee knows that once it's brought to that department head's attention, it will be acted on, because sometimes it was, I don't want to say that, I don't want to get in trouble, but I think it's a little more protection for that department head. He has no choice, he has to pass it on, but that's just my 2 cents.
I have a feeling that this section will change a little bit when we, as I mentioned, once we get through the whole thing, we'll send it off to an attorney for review, and I have a feeling that this section in particular will change a little bit, but I will definitely pass that comment along. Yep.
Anything else on chapter 32? All right, moving down to chapter 33, alcohol and drug use. Couple of changes in there. Anybody have any questions? All right. Seeing none, move down to chapter 34, workplace threats and violence. Any questions or comments on that one? Nothing changed in that one. Mike?
Yeah, I'm just throwing stuff out there. Should we add elected officials in part of that? Against employees, visitors, guests?
I think if you look earlier in this as, and I can verify that, but I feel like for the purposes of this policy manual, village board members are considered employees when they talk to employees. But I'll make sure that that's clear.
I want to say, nothing more important to the village than safety and security of its employees, but it's village operations. I mean, it's more than just employees. It's guests, visitors. I think it needs to be more generalized. That first statement there?
Well, but it's this is talking about workplace threats and violence. It's trying to protect the employees that work here.
But then in the next statement, it says, Okay. Visitors, guests, and other individuals on village property. I just thought it should be more, we're talking about more than just employees.
I think the first part is, I mean, this is really to protect the employees from workplace violence. The second sentence is saying that threats from all of these individuals will not be allowed. But the threats are obviously towards the employees.
Visitors, guests. I guess, I think it's more, I think it's more than just the employees. It's whoever does business with the Village of North Falmouth.
So you're suggesting the first sentence?
I mean, I
is-
just make, it should be more of an encompass.
But the first sentence?
Yes. Right.
So the safety and security of its employees and
The
occupants? or-
Village is operating, I mean, government, or, I don't know what the wording is, but, it should be more broad, I think.
Like in anybody that does business with the village?
Or anybody that has, I don't know what the word is, but,
All right, I'll,
just think of something, I mean, I
See if I
guess,
can come up with
trying to
something.
make it more broad.
sure.
Anything else, Mike?
No, that's all I got.
Anything else on chapter 34? All right, chapter 35, union activity. Anybody have anything on that one? All right, seeing none, moving down to chapter 36, fair share agreement. Some changes there. Anybody have any questions or comments on that one?
I'm just gonna,
Go ahead, Mike.
employer shall not require to submit, shall not be required. Okay, I'll go down to the next one, inadvertence or error, the employer fails or neglects to make a deduction, but I said it should be a correction, because it might not be a deduction, it might be the other way around too, it's not always a deduction, I don't know.
How else, it wouldn't be, we don't do anything but deduct from the paycheck for a union. I don't know what you're, I guess I'm not.
I mean, I did this a long time ago, I didn't write this up a month ago, so. You can leave it go for now,
Okay.
like I said, I did this a month ago. Okay.
Anything else on that one, Mike?
Is there, do we have, anybody from ASME anymore? Do we have anybody from ASME anymore?
No.
Is there anybody, I mean, I don't know if we need to, if that needs to stay in there or not, I just.
Well,
I mean, it
There's an
is
option,
still
so-
a, it's still a
It's still
union, but
in
you don't,
existence.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, I just asked a question.
Yeah, this one was a little difficult to go through because there is some unions that a lot of the language is probably related to ASME, and that's not really part of the village, but it's still in existence, so.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions on that one? Chapter 36?
If I could,
Darren.
along those lines, if it doesn't, would there be any harm in taking this out of the personnel policy manual? I would imagine this exact same language is addressed in the contract. So to have it in the personnel policy manual seems totally unnecessary. And the only people that are going to be that this is going to apply to are those that are represented employees. And so that's part of their contract. I don't think it needs to be in the personnel policy manual.
I think originally we moved a lot of stuff over in a quick hurry.
I think that's, and that's why I think it's referring specifically to Ask Me right
Yeah.
now, because I think that's what happened. I think it got
Yeah,
drawn
moved it
over
over
when that
quickly.
contract went
Yeah.
away. But I don't think it needs to be here.
I can look into that.
Want to check out?
Yep.
All right,
I think that makes sense.
Nick will take a look on that one, see if it's necessary. Anything else on chapter 36? All right, seeing none, moving down to chapter 37, deferred compensation plan. Any questions on this one? Alrighty.
With that, I guess we're all done with it. We will, at this point, I'll try to summarize all the changes that were proposed, the discussion, and try and get all that ironed out, and then we'll bring it back for one last review. Hopefully it'll be a little bit quicker, because we'll just be going back on some of the things that we had discussion about.
That'll work. Anybody have any
We-
questions on the process? Mike?
I do, I would like a separate meeting for that. To go through the whole thing one more time. I know it's a lot of, I mean, I didn't realize 37 was the end, but I would like a separate meeting for that, so it's not rushed. So we can go through it at a board meeting level.
You're done like before, like, or after
Or,
a regular board meeting, or on a separate day?
in between one of our board meetings or something, I would like a special meeting for that. Not just one person.
How does the rest of the board feel about that, so we can just concentrate on going through all the changes? Yeah, I'm good with that. We would just wanna consider a date at a later, I mean.
Yeah, as soon
after-
as he gets back from you,
Okay.
you gonna send it to the attorney and stuff first, or?
No, because we don't have everything, there's still a number of outstanding issues that
Okay.
weren't resolved.
Okay,
There was a bunch of sections that we skipped.
okay, yep.
Alright. Moving down to resolutions. Discussion and possible action on approving resolution 12-2018, a final resolution authorizing public improvements and levying assessments against benefited property on North Fond du Lac, Indiana Avenue.
Resolution is attached. Probably go ahead and read this one.
Alrighty. Village of North Fond du Lac Resolution 12-2018, final resolution authorizing public improvements and levying special assessments against benefited property in North Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, Indiana Avenue. The Board of Trustees of the Village of North Fond du Lac does resolve as follows. Whereas Village Board of North Fond du Lac, Wisconsin held public hearings at the municipal board boardroom after 6 p.m. on the first day of October 2018 for the purpose of hearing all interested persons concerning the final resolution and report of the project manager on the completed public improvements consisting of the construction of the streets, Indiana Avenue, Lakeshore Drive to Dead End. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Village of North Fond du Lac, Wisconsin determines as follows. Number one, the report of the project manager, including the plans and specifications and assessments set forth therein, is adopted and approved. Number two, the project manager has advertised for bids and supervised construction of the improvements in accordance with the report hereby adopted. Number three, payment for improvements shall be made by assessing 100% of the cost of driveway approaches, curb, pavement, and landscaping, less any applicable credits to the property benefited as indicated in the report. Number four, assessments shown on the report represent an exercise of the police power and have been determined on a reasonable basis and are hereby confirmed. Number five, assessments for all projects included in the report are hereby combined as a single assessment, but any interested property owner may object to each assessment separately or all assessments jointly for any purpose. Number six, assessments shall be due by November 1st, 2018, or within 40 days of billing date. Assessments may be paid in full or in annual installments according to the policy established in Section 3.10 of the Municipal Code to the municipal clerk. Installments shall be paid by November 1st of each year or shall be placed on the next tax roll after the due date, and all installment payments shall bear interest at the rate of prime plus 3% per annum on the Monday preceding the board action, which is 8% per annum on the unpaid balance on an annual basis, adopted this day, first day of October 2018.
And just FYI, the report that it refers to was sitting in your desk when you got here. All the assessments.
Does anybody have any questions on this resolution?
Yes, just help me out.
Go ahead, Mike.
So how much is that? a certain percentages is on their tax roll every year, or they can come and pay for it
So,
now?
based on their amount of their assessment, and in this case, because they're all, well, except for one, are $5,000 and more, you can do a 10-year payment plan.
Yep,
So if you do a 10-year payment plan, those amounts are due every year by November 1st. If they don't pay them by November 1st, it goes on their tax roll.
okay, and then, okay, let's say they pay them by November 1st.
Yep.
Are they paying interest on that money?
On the payment plans, yes.
Okay. Up to 8%, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
Because prime is at 5% now.
Anybody else have any other questions? What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make the motion to approve a resolution, R-10, 2018.
R-12.
R-, I have an old summary here. I looked at the R-12, 2018.
Second.
All right, got a motion by Will, second by Stutz to approve Resolution 12-18 for the final resolution authorizing public improvements and levying special assessments against benefited properties in North Fond du Lac on Indiana Avenue. Any other discussion?
One more point of
Go ahead,
clarification
Mike.
is, we're not doing anything different that we've done with other streets and stuff like that. We're doing pretty much the same as we've done in the past. Correct?
Short answer, no, we're doing it the same. Because the village is involved and there was some added cost because of our brush bin and in the creek crossing, there's some added increased cost because of those issues. We needed to take some of those costs back out of this project. Because we made that intersection down by the garage, if you've been down there, all the concrete. We talked about this at the beginning, that we
Yep.
didn't feel it fair that the homeowners pay for that increased cost.
So we actually pulled it.
We
in
pulled
the
it back out,
project.
correct.
Okay, thank you, I just wanted,
Yeah. But otherwise, yes.
okay, thank you for that, yeah.
And Mitch, the project went fine?
Went really well.
Good, good. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Communications. I have just one thing, well, Mike would remember, the board approved buying 2 more tablets for the Veterans Memorial. Spent the last year getting names. I believe we ended up with 166 names. We submitted those names. Tammy up in the front office was nice enough to put all those into a spreadsheet for us, and we submitted those last week. And we're gonna get a mock-up of what that's gonna look like. It's gonna be 2 separate stones, and waiting for that mock-up. And from what I understand, there's a little bit of delay there because the person at Rock of Ages that we were working with unfortunately passed away, so we had to kind of figure out who was running the show. And they said if we can get the mock-up approved and everything, they can hopefully get everything engraved and in place by Veterans Day of this year. So fingers crossed, if not by Veterans Day, by the end of the year. So, yeah, so that's just an update on the Veterans Memorial. Any new business? All right, adjournment. Get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. You got a motion by Stutz, second by Streeter to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thanks, everybody, for coming.